Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adrian Card with Colorado State University Extension, a state specialist in produce, and am here today to host your webinar overview of the state of Colorado's premium cost containment program. Today's webinar is produced in collaboration with the Colorado Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association and will feature a step-by-step guide to obtaining certification in the state of Colorado's premium cost containment program. With this certification, employers can save up to 10% on workers' compensation premiums. CFEGA is the go-to resource for Colorado's fresh fruit and vegetable farmers. We connect Colorado growers with industry, government, academia, and consumers to strengthen and expand Colorado fresh fruit and vegetable production. Learn more at the CFEGA website and on its Facebook and Instagram pages. CFEGA is made possible through the generous contributions from sponsors, and want to highlight those here for you. These are CFEGA's platinum sponsors, CFEGA's gold sponsors, silver sponsors, and more silver sponsors. Learn more about these vendors by going to the website and looking on the Growers tab and clicking on Find Products and Services. You'll see more in that directory of various things you might need as a grower to succeed. So many of you are super comfortable with Zoom. A couple of pieces here before I introduced Jeff. He and I spoke, and we will take your questions during his presentation. So look for that Q&A box. Type in those questions. I'll pass those over to Jeff as we go. You all know you can resize the Zoom screen to fit whatever device you're on. Make sure you can be comfortable throughout the presentation visually. And at the very end, we're going to have an educational outcome poll. So look for that. We'll launch that as well. And without further ado, Jeff Roffle is the supervisor of the Premium Cost Containment Unit for the Colorado Division of Workers' Compensation at the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. There are currently over 8,000 Colorado companies actively participating in this program. Prior to supervising the program, Mr. Roffle was an advisor to the Governor's Cost Containment Board. And before joining the state, Mr. Roffle managed a regional airline. He has a very diverse background, operating over 130 flights daily and with $250 million in assets and property. So we're glad to have him in the public sector, and passing over to Jeff.
Sure. Thank you, Adrian, for the introduction. And before I go any further, I'd like to thank everybody on this call for bringing healthy and safe food to all of our dinner tables. So thank you all. And Adrian, if you could just share screen.
You bet. You want me to stop so you can grab it back?
There we go. I got it.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Awesome. So typically, folks, when I go out and kind of give this presentation, I always start with, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. And when we had these meetings in person, the room would kind of clear, like, oh man, I'm getting away from this guy. So I was interested to see if the participant count goes down after I tell you I'm here to help. But really, I am here to help. I'm here to tell you about a program that really has no natural enemies. It's a win-win for all involved. And it's not often in this day we can say that. But I'm going to talk about the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment's Premium Cost Containment Program. And as I go through this program and the requirements of this program, you may say to yourself, my company is doing that. Well, we already have that in place. And that's not uncommon, folks. It's just a matter of getting the documentation to our office and filling out our short application. Once you do that, we'll work with you to get you a discount on your workers' compensation premium. So I'll go ahead and jump in. And as Adrian mentioned, if you have questions at any point in time, you don't have to sit on it. Just go ahead and type it into the box and Adrian will let me know. So what is the Premium Cost Containment Program? It's a safety program that we ask you to implement at your place of business. It encourages employers to implement this program. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to prevent and reduce the number of work-related injuries. And then on the back end, say you have an injury at your place of business. What are we going to do to control the cost associated with that injured worker. So what are the benefits? Reducing the cost of your workers' compensation premiums. And why did the legislature get together and come up with this? Well, back in the 80s, there was an alarming increase in the frequency and severity of work-related injuries here in Colorado. So the folks over at the state capitol, they got together, and I know that could be a scary proposition, but they got together, and this is what they came up with, the Colorado Cost Containment Program. So who is eligible for certification in this program? Any employer. So regardless of what type of work you're doing, regardless of the size of your company, you can participate voluntarily in this program as long as you have commercial insurance. So Pinnacle, the Farmers, Travelers, those companies, you need to be insured commercially. If you are self-insured, then you wouldn't be eligible to participate in this program. And remember, folks, self-insurance is not, I'm not going to have workers' comp coverage, and if one of my employees gets injured, I'll just pay the claim. That's not self-insured. That's breaking the law. So there is a whole gamut that you go through to become self-insured. But I have an inkling that most folks on this call, your businesses, are commercially insured. How does an employer become certified? Certification status is granted by the Premium Cost Containment Board to employers who can document that they have had a risk management program in force for at least one full year. And I'm going to talk a little bit at the end here about the board itself, but just know that I don't have the authority to just hand out a certificate. There is a board that'll make that determination for you. What are the benefits of implementing this program? Premium reduction of up to 10%. So we're talking a reduction right off of your policy. So if you're certified in this program and you get this certificate and letter from us, you take it right to your insurance company, and they'll knock that discount right off. So it really is one of the nice things to be doing. But I always tell folks, yeah, great, you have the discount from your insurance company, but really I feel that the real savings comes from decreasing the experience modification, lowering your industry class rates, and then just bottom line profitability. If your company is receiving this discount and maybe the business down the street that may not be performing in this program, you got a leg up on them. So really, there's quite a few benefits for participating in this program. What are the minimum requirements for certification? So it's a 6-step safety program. And I'm going to go in real quickly and touch on all of these steps. But as you look at these, you may say to yourself, once again, we had that, Jeff. I'm not surprised. It's just a matter of you contacting us. Let's work together to get you a certificate in this program. But we're going to ask that you have a safety statement. We're going to ask that you have a safety coordinator or committee at your place of business. We're going to ask that you have safety rules. We're going to ask that you train your employees. We're going to ask that you have a designated medical provider. And keep in mind, the designated medical provider here in Colorado, if you designate a medical provider for your injured workers, you should be receiving a 2.5% reduction in your premium separate of this program. And then we ask that you have claims management, which we'll talk about as well. So the first step, the safety policy statement. This statement is dictated by management, and it really kind of sets the tone. It sets the culture for your organization, your philosophy on safety. You want to tell your employees that their safety and well-being is the utmost priority at your place of business. Safety before speed, and we're looking to reduce the possibility of accidents. Typically, this safety policy statement is the first page of an employee handbook. And we ask that you give this to your employees and have them acknowledge that they received this statement and they know that their well-being is paramount. Step 2, we ask that you have a safety committee or coordinator. And what we're looking for here, folks, is a liaison between the workers and management. If they see the employees, if the line employees see something maybe in your operation that's unsafe, we want to ensure that there's a vehicle. They know who they can go to to have their concerns addressed. We want this committee or coordinator to recommend safety policies. We want them to conduct on-site inspections, investigate all accidents. And you're going to hear me say investigate all accidents many times here over the next 15, 20 minutes. It's really important. And then we want the committee or coordinator to determine safety rules, training, and those type of things. Now, if you're a small organization, it may just be one person. Hey, such and such is going to be our safety coordinator here. You want to make sure that your employees know who that person is. If you're a large operation, you may have different folks sit on a committee from different areas of the operation. And when they meet, you're going to want to keep meeting minutes and those type of things. But we will leave it up to you as to what you feel comfortable with, a committee or a coordinator. The third step of the program, we ask that you have safety rules. Make sure that you have these rules posted. Make sure that they're clearly defined, that they're signed and dated, and that you enforce your safety rules. And of course, you want to ensure that you have safety rules applicable, germane to the type of exposure that your employees are going to face on a day-to-day basis. As a lot of you may know, here in Colorado, if you have an employee that willfully violates a safety rule and gets injured, you can reduce their benefits by 50%. Now, you can't touch their medical benefits, but you can reduce their indemnity benefits, their lost time, and those type of things by 50%. But in order to do that, you need to ensure that, one, you had the safety rule, two, that you were enforcing the safety rule, and third, that the employee knew what the safety rule was and they willfully violated that safety rule. Step 4, we ask that you train your employees. Make sure your training is once again applicable to the type of exposure that they see. We're going to ask that your safety training is ongoing. What we typically tell folks is we recommend at least quarterly. We would expect to see more depending on, if it's a large operation. We would say quarterly may not work. Sometimes we can see folks doing annual training. If it's seasonal type work, that may come into play here with this group. You do a kickoff training session at the beginning of the year for all your employees. But make sure that you're doing your safety training and have your employees sign that they've been trained. Who is the instructor? What date was the training? Did the training occur? What was covered as part of the training? And make sure that all employees attend training. So the first 4 steps of the program that I just touched on, those are all geared toward avoiding an employee getting injured at all. And that's our goal. You know, everybody wants to go home to their families as they came to work. But as we all know, things happen. So somebody gets injured on the job. What are we going to do to control the cost of that claim? Hence the name cost containment. So these next 2 steps that I'm going to touch on are geared toward, you've already had somebody injured on the job, let's control the cost. So the designated medical provider, which we touched on, and really this is a benefit for the employer. What you want to do is ensure that you have selected a clinic, and as we all know, injured worker, after they're injured, you provide them with a list, and it can be different in rural areas. So I strongly recommend you get with your insurance carrier to determine if you're in a rural area or how many medical providers that you're required to have. But guy gets injured on the job, you give them the information as far as the designated medical provider so they can choose from a list of 4 independently owned clinics. So keep that in mind. And this is important because you want to ensure that you have designated medical providers that believe in bringing folks back to work. We want to ensure that your designated medical provider knows what type of work you all have, as well as any modifications that can be done to bring somebody back to work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But ensure that you make sure you give these folks this list when they're injured, because if you don't, then they can go to their own physician and get treatment, and then the claim gets really expensive. So we don't want that. Claims management procedures. Make sure that once somebody's injured on the job, there's somebody that's going to be in charge of ensuring that post-claim management requirements are done. You need to have your insurance carrier's name and phone number handy, obviously. And then you want to make sure that you fill out the first report of injury. And that is required by your insurance company. It's an important document to start the claim process. But what we're asking for more so in this program is that you all investigate all of your accidents. And an accident investigation can look and smell a lot like a first report of injury, but there are some major differences, and we'll touch on those. And then obviously modified duty procedures. We've all been at home in the middle of the day watching TV, and up pops the commercial. If you've been injured on the job, I can get you $1 gazillion. That's not what we want. We want to ensure that we are engaged with the injured worker, make sure that we tend to their needs and get them back into a modified position as quickly as possible. Once an attorney gets involved, folks, the claim is going to get much more expensive. The things you need to remember are record keeping. Ensure that you document everything. If you don't have it documented, it didn't happen. That's the way a lot of the judges, when they go to rulings on some of these things, they look at it as make sure you're documenting everything. Identify trends. This is a big one. Call your insurance company. Tell them to send you your loss runs, your injury history. Maybe you find that, every Monday after the Denver Broncos lose, that's when guys are getting injured that morning. Whatever the trend is. But it's good to know the trend so then you can kind of combat some of the things that are driving your injuries. Investigate ASAP. We'll talk a little bit more about accident investigation, but you want to do them in a timely manner. Modified duty, once again, is important. And have your employees date and sign. Always important. Date and sign things. The board requirements, to be a board member, there's 7 folks on this board. You must apply. You're chosen by the governor's office. If there's anybody on this call that is interested in getting involved, we're always looking for board members. The state Senate will approve each term, and they typically serve 2 3-year terms. But really, we're always putting the word out, hey, get involved with your state government. If you want to sit on a board, this is a good one to sit on. You'll learn quite a bit and take some of that stuff back to your place of business, and you'll also be helping out other businesses. The makeup of the board: 2 permanent seats. Pinnacle Assurance has a permanent seat, and then the Division of Insurance has a permanent seat, and then the other 5 seats on the board are folks that own their own businesses, who have demonstrated a good workers' comp knowledge here in Colorado. So 7 total seats on this board. Once again, documentation. Keep in mind all program elements, all the requirements that we just touched on, they do need to be in place at your place of business for 1 full year before you can apply. So that's really important. My folks, my staff that'll be looking at your documentation, they have a lot of tools in their tool belt to help you all. They will find creative ways to get things done for you all. But as far as the program being in place for 1 year, there's no real wiggle room there. So ensure that all your documentation is at least 1 year old. Provide representative documentation. And so what we mean there is we want real documents. If you're sending stuff in and it has a coffee stain on it, we know that that's a real document of a safety meeting that took place out at your place of business, and we just love that. So please keep that in mind. We're going to look for real documents, real signatures, real dates, and those type things. Sign-in sheets are awesome. And then if you have to modify your program, make revisions to your program, make sure you date that as well. External resources. Help us find for this program. Here in Colorado, when you pay your premium for workers' comp, the way it reads is a portion of your premium dollars are set aside by your insurance carrier to assist you with risk management efforts. So you've already paid for that. Your carrier should not charge you anything extra to help you with this program. If you have an agent or a broker that you work with, we love that. It's a value added service. Consultants, they can do a great job for you. We work with a lot of these consultants and safety professionals. So use those folks. But remember to keep your own documentation. It is your program. So at the end of the day, the onus falls to you to have your documentation in order. And I'm going to touch on accident investigations very briefly because this is a point of emphasis for the current board. It's the one issue that I hear most with employers trying to get in this program. Hey, Johnny got hurt on the job. We didn't figure out we would do an accident investigation. And so that's one way to get in the hot water with this board. Remember, these accident investigations are required for all injuries. Conduct them in a timely manner. It does no good to try to do an investigation out at the scene, 2 weeks later when the conditions have changed. And what we're looking for on these accident investigations that make them so different from the first report of injury that you're used to filling out, we want to know root cause. How did this gentleman or lady get injured on the job? What was the root cause behind this accident? And what are we going to do going forward to ensure this type of accident doesn't happen again? We're going to look for corrective action. Okay, what did you implement? And we're going to look for follow-up dates of those corrective actions.
Jeff, question on this one from me, and I have one here in just a bit from one of our attendees is, what is the threshold of injury? Is this like I get a bruise on the job or I cut my finger and need a Band-Aid, or is this I need to get stitches or go to the hospital?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I would say report all injuries to your carrier, regardless of the severity or what seems like the severity. If it's a no-cost claim, that's fine. Your carrier will just make a record of it. What you don't want is the finger, and we've seen this before. The finger's connected to the wrist bone is connected to the elbow bone, and then before you know it, the claim has gotten away. And what was just a cut on the finger is now, somebody claiming that they're now going to be a permanent total disabled or something like that. So please make sure that you report all injuries to your carrier.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, was there one other question, Adrian, or no?
Yeah, there's one that will take us back to a previous slide, but it's what are the expectations of sharing the results of the on-site safety review? There's two parts. So I'll start with the first part. What are the expectations of sharing the results of the on-site safety review?
As far as proprietary information, am I understanding that? Or
I think so. Let me just read the rest of it. I think that'll help clarify. Are employers required to share the results with all supervisory level employees or an on-site safety manager?
Yeah, I would say it would start with the safety manager, and then any information that they find off there that they can glean that's going to help their operation as far as the line employees, then maybe share that information going forward like that. And I'm not sure if I'm answering the question correctly. As far as our documentation goes, you're always welcome to redact something if you don't feel comfortable sending it to us. Just know that all the information that you send in to us is proprietary, and we hold it, and then we destroy the documentation after we hold it for 3 years. We archive it, and then we go ahead and professionally destroy it. But I don't know, Adrian, if I'm answering that question.
I think so. Todd, you type this in. If you want to ask a clarifying question too, please do. So, yeah. That's our only one right now. I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah. Sure. So the accident investigation, once again, you want to get witness statements on this for sure, but don't have the employees fill this out. This is something that management needs to fill out and drive kind of the process of deciding, okay, what went wrong here, or what are we going to do to combat this? Maybe it's additional training. Maybe the equipment needs to be repaired. Or maybe, and this is what I always tell folks about these accident investigations, they don't miss this opportunity to investigate these accidents, because you may go out, start investigating an accident, and find that your employee was not even negligible. Maybe it's a third party, and now we can talk about subrogating the cost of this claim to somebody else. So don't miss those those opportunities. And that's kind of it. I mean, the biggest thing that I would say take away from this is contact our office so we can talk about your safety program specifically. We pride ourselves on the fact that when you contact us, you're gonna speak to a live body. We're not gonna quote you a lot of regs and those type of things. We're gonna talk to you like human beings and decide and work with you to get you in this program. That's our goal, to get you in this program, educate you as much as we possibly can, and really to assist you. But if you make that first call, I guarantee you you'll find out that the process to become certified in this program is not very cumbersome at all, and we do pride ourselves on that. So once again, Adrian, that's really all I had, and I really
great.
thank you for the invite. I hope that somebody goes back to their place of business and says, "Hey, you know what? Let's get our safety program here certified by the state."
And like you say, I imagine a lot of our employers, especially some of our larger ag employers, are already doing this. So it's just sort of organizing their program a bit more. And it sounds like their carrier can help them do that at no cost.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we can help as well, folks. And there's no, I mean, if you don't feel like maybe I don't have everything right now, we'd be more than happy to take a look at what you do have and provide feedback. Hey, this is where you maybe need to beef up on documentation. If you'd like, we can provide forms, examples of what we're looking for. All that we ask when we do that is don't just take our forms and send them right back to us. Make the forms your own. So make that part of your program if we do share those type of documents with you. But we're here to help, and we have a lot of resources that we'd love to provide.
And it sounds like coffee stains are a bonus if those happen on the documents.
That's how we know they're real documents, because
Right.
we're not naive enough to think, I'll tell you guys, if somebody wanted to sit down and just say, all right, we're going to send this stuff into the state, and it's maybe not a real representation of what's going on at their place of business, maybe they could do that, but time will catch up with them on that. It's so short-sighted. Really, I think the benefits of this program are not the discount we're giving you for participating, but really the activity that goes along with this program.
And the financial benefits, what I heard is that my annual cost of my premium could be reduced by 10%. And then if I have a designated medical provider, an additional 2.5%.
That's correct. Hard savings.
That's great.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
great. Well, any other questions, guys? Well, we have Jeff here with us. And you've got contact information on screen. You've got the website, everyone in the chat. You can click on that and learn more. And we'll pause a bit here, Jeff, just to see if anybody's typing one in. I don't get to see that indicator that anyone's typing, so we'll just pause and see. And none so far. So I think with that, thank you so much for being with us today. And we will post this recording, everyone, in the CFEGA YouTube channel. And reach out to Jeff if you have questions.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. Take care,
Thank you,
folks.
Jeff. Have a great day.
You too.